Pioneer brand canola with Optimum Gly, the highest yielding glyphosate-tolerant trait on the market. What's next in canola happens here.
I'm Shaun Haney, and this is RealAg on the Weekend. Let's get real and get connected with the week that was in Canadian agriculture. RealAg on the Weekend starts now. Welcome to RealAg on the Weekend here on 650 CQM and 980 CGME. I'm your host, Shaun Haney of RealAgriculture.com. It is great to be with you this weekend. Thanks for joining us here today for the program. It was a great week. Yes, I'm going to talk about what I did this week. Fascinating. I was in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan earlier this week. But before we get to that, I want to talk about what's on the show here today, okay? So today we're going to hear about my trip to Saskatoon, and we're also going to have a product spotlight with CANTERRA seeds. A lot of you are out there thinking about what canola hybrids are going to be growing in the upcoming season in 2025. And I know canola yields kind of disappointed many of you across the province. That hot July really kicked us in the pants, right in the butt when it came to some of the canola yields where we were to the expectation in mid-June. But we know next year is a new year. There's always next year, and CANTERRA seeds is a great option for you. So we're going to have a product spotlight with them. We're also today going to look at some research data that the market research arm of RealAgriculture put out this week, asking Canadian farmers and ranchers, now, not how you would vote in the U.S. election, but instead, which of the candidates, Vice President Kamala Harris or former President Donald Trump, which one would have a more positive impact on Canadian agriculture? Some interesting findings there, so we'll dig into that a little bit as the election is on Tuesday. And then, speaking of the election, there's going to be obviously a big impact, no matter which side wins on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, whenever they figure it all out and they count all the votes. But the policies of each of the parties and the candidate, and likely how the House and Senate races shake out. Right now, it looks to be Dems winning the House and Republicans winning the Senate, if you believe some of the pollsters out there. There's going to be an impact on Canadian ag. But how much? And how so? And in some cases, like biofuel tax policy, this is an issue on both sides of the aisle, and there is bipartisan support. So we're going to talk today to two Farm Credit Canada economists. We got Justin Shepard and Graeme Crosbie. They're going to join me and chat about some of they've got a list of 3 things that you need to be paying attention to that are policy issues in the U.S. because they carry over here to Canada, impacting producers, not only in Saskatchewan, but across the country. Now, if you have any feedback on today's program, we'd love to hear from you. You can send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. You can also find Real Agriculture across all the different social media platforms, or you can, of course, call that RealAg feedback line. Pretty simple number, 855-776-6147. As I mentioned earlier this week, I was in Saskatoon. I was able to go out to Allen, and I toured the Nutrien Allen mine. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I was excited about going on the tour with Nutrien as they hosted a media event. But I will say this, I was blown away. So the Allen mine, so Nutrien owns 6 mines in Saskatchewan. Mosaic has 2 and BHPI has 1. I believe I got that distribution correctly. Now, the Allen mine alone, okay, is filling 100 rail cars a day. A day. There's 650 people that work at that mine. And it was interesting, and I think a lot of times we drive down the highway and, we see some of the mining operations with Nutrien and Mosaic that are happening in the province of Saskatchewan. And we don't necessarily stop, pause, take a deep breath, and think about the economic impact that it is having not only in Saskatchewan, but really around the world. And earlier this week, I was talking to Leslie Kelly, farmer from Watrous, Saskatchewan. And Leslie and I were talking about it. And she said something that I heard a couple times this week. I've had a few people say it to me like this. A lot of times in agriculture, we talk about feeding the world. The reality is that there's agricultural production everywhere. There's a lot of farmers and ranchers in other countries that are also feeding the world. We're a component of it. We're the breadbasket here in Western Canada. But there is other areas that are producing wheat, producing oil seeds, all the different crops. When it comes to potash and the exports that are coming out of Saskatchewan, that is truly feeding the world. Depending on which numbers you look at, the reliance of the U.S. corn acre, 90 million acres of corn, relies on potash out of Saskatchewan. See, the U.S. has a little bit of potash production, and farmers across the Midwest need to use potash on their corn crop. There's a little bit of potash production. I think it's in New Mexico. Nothing to the significance of scale and scope like we have in Saskatchewan. Nutrien alone is producing somewhere around 13 to 15 million metric tons of potash per year. It's a tremendous economic value. Never mind the jobs that are created. And one of the numbers that was thrown around this week that I heard, for every direct job at the potash mines, there are 4 indirect jobs that are created. Now, it's interesting. I was talking to an economist friend of mine, and he said, I bet you that's low. I bet you that is low. I bet you it's more than 4 to 1. So, what an experience. Okay, I'm going to post, I call it maybe a photo essay or some photos showcasing my trip. I posted a little bit of them on my Instagram profile as well as on Twitter. And the pictures are amazing. They don't do justice that my own eyes saw. And it really was a fantastic experience. So I really appreciate Nutrien inviting me on the media tour with some U.S. media colleagues from the ag media. They were amazed. There was media there from Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska, the Dakotas. And they had the same reaction as I did. What a critical resource being mined in Saskatchewan, high quality, and very safely, which is also a critical component of the process as well. So stay tuned for more about my trip to the potash mine in Allen. It was a great experience, and you should be very proudful, Saskatchewan, of some of the resources that you have, especially from a potash perspective. Saskatchewan is a world leader in the production of potash because of the hardworking people of Saskatchewan, as well as the companies willing to invest significant capital. I heard that the BHP mine that's being built in Saskatchewan, $5 billion. We're not talking about, a few shekels here. We're talking about the billions of dollars, incredible investment, and it's really like no other area when it comes to North America. So very cool stuff. So check that out at RealAgriculture.com as the days proceed here. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to hear a product spotlight with CANTERRA seeds. You're listening to Real Ag on the Weekend here on 650 CQM, 980 CGME. If you're serious about agriculture, RealAg's got you covered.
For over 10 years, we've listened to and shared what producers have to say about everything from policy to agronomy from coast to coast.
Keep up with the latest in Canadian agriculture at RealAgriculture.com through daily newsletters and check out our YouTube channel.
Thanks for joining us in the RealAg community as we continue to cover and serve North American agriculture.
If you're involved in the agriculture industry, it's important to stay informed on all the latest issues affecting your business. At RealAgriculture.com, we offer fast, reliable news, information, and insights to help you keep on top of all of the latest in Canadian agriculture. Visit RealAgriculture.com and sign up for our free daily newsletter covering everything from news, agronomy, animal agriculture, and much more. Visit RealAgriculture.com/subscribe today.
Since 2010, the Wheat School on RealAgriculture.com has been helping farmers to grow great wheat. Covering everything from markets, the latest research, pest and disease control, all the way down to on-farm trials, the Wheat School has everything your crop needs. Check out our massive video library on YouTube and grow great wheat with the Wheat School, brought to you by Syngenta Canada, C&M Seeds, and Alberta Grains.
Lead the field with the lineup of versatile high-speed discs from Brandt and achieve better results with every pass, and receive up to a $12,000 rebate for a limited time. Visit brandt.ca for more.
The following is a paid-for product spotlight by CANTERRA Seeds.
Very special product spotlight, because stick around, we've got an announcement at the end. Joining me is Lorrie Keyowski. She is the Director of Sales for CANTERRA Seeds. Welcome here, Lorrie.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's talk about the next generation of Liberty Link hybrids that CANTERRA Seeds is bringing to the market. You've got an exciting new hybrid. Tell us about what's in store for 2025.
We are very excited to be launching the next generation of Liberty Link hybrid to our portfolio, CS4100. It offers enhanced protection against shatter tolerance, offering a 7.3 rating on the Canola Council scale. It also has first and second generation club root as well as multigenic blackleg resistance. So it's a great fit across all growing regions for Western Canadian farmers. We've also trialed this hybrid across our network extensively this summer, which gives our team and our retails confidence and an idea of how it performs against leading Liberty Link hybrids out in the marketplace. And I'm really excited to see the results. It is certainly offering a lot of consistency across the West and definitely stacking up against the best.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Now, you mentioned the reach, of course, that CANTERRA Seeds has. What makes your sales team unique in delivering value for Western Canadian farmers?
What makes us unique is that we're local. We're a Western Canadian seed-focused company built by farmers for farmers. Our team is also people-focused. They live in the communities where our hybrids and varieties are grown. And you can find any of our contact information on our website. And really our focus is growing connection one field at a time.
Now, let's get to the fun and exciting announcement part. Now, maybe some people have heard about free Seed Fridays that CANTERRA Seeds is putting out for this year, but we've got a special Free Seed Friday coming up. So tell us about this overall and, of course, what's in store for RealAg listeners.
Absolutely. So we have a special edition of our Free Seed Friday, which is an opportunity for any grower in Western Canada to win up to 16 free bags of their order on November 15th. But in addition to that, for the RealAg listeners, we're offering a no purchase opportunity where your listeners can win up to 8 free bags of our new CS4100 Liberty Link. And we'd love for them to split a field and put it up against the toughest on their farm in the Liberty Link space. And we're really confident that you're going to see great results with it. So we will also be making that draw for the 8 free bags live on location with RealAg at AgriTrade November 15th.
Right. Okay. So for anyone interested, head to CANTERRA.com/RealAg. Of course, you can visit RealAgriculture.com as well. Get those entries in. Make sure that you're in the draw for this very special Free Seed Friday. Now, while they're online, Lorrie, farmers may want to go and check out some of the performance trials, look at some of the data you have on your hybrids and including this one. So while farmers are at CANTERRA.com, what can they find there to help inform their decisions for 2025?
Well, they can find anything that they need to know about CANTERRA, like from our contact information, as I shared before. You can check out our performance results. They are being refreshed constantly, and we post all of our results, whether we win, lose, or tie. So we're very upfront with our performance results. You can also find your preferred CANTERRA Seeds retailer near you, or you can order right on our website through the Order Now button, and we will connect you with a retailer near you as well.
All right, wonderful. Lorrie, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. This is super exciting. Thanks for doing this for our listeners.
You're welcome.
So that's right. You heard it here. Free Seed Fridays, especially for our Real Ag audience. So do not disappoint and do not hesitate. The draw will be November 15th. That is coming up sooner than we think. And get your name in for the draw. This is no purchase necessary, as Lorrie said. So head on over, CANTERRA.com/RealAg. That's CANTERRA.com, CANTERRA.com/RealAg. Get your name in for those 8 bags of this Friday. This is CS 4100 LL. It is a Liberty Link variety, a hybrid, new for 2025. And if you do win, of course, they want to see what you're going to do with it. If you're going to put it up against your favorite hybrid, maybe out there, and see how well it does. And we would love to know as well. So yeah, super thankful to CANTERRA Seeds for doing this. I think it's super exciting. So get on over there. That's CANTERRA.com/RealAg and get your name in for the draw of 8 bags of seed for the 2025 season.
Cool promotion. Yeah, farmers love free stuff. So check out that website and make sure you use the RealAg extension. And cool stuff there from CANTERRA Seeds. Also big sponsors with the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League as well. I think it's called the CANTERRA Seeds Cup. Well, we got a little bit of time here. I thought I'd just dive into Bill C-282 a little bit. This is the supply management bill that is being pushed by the Bloc. This is the one of the 2 things that the Bloc has told the Liberals, pass these or else. Now, the NDP is not supporting the Bloc in that this week, and the deadline of October 29th has officially passed. So I guess we've called the Bloc's bluff up until this point. But here's what I'll say. This is a bill that we've talked about a lot on this show, RealAg Radio Podcast, RealAgriculture.com. It would protect supply management in all future trade negotiations. Basically, Canada could not give up any more access when it comes to Canadian dairy, eggs, turkey, poultry, etc. It has really divided the industry. It has really created... Now, it's created some problems internationally because, when I talk to a lot of people in D.C., they're like, Canada, what the heck are you doing? But I want to talk here about what it's doing inside the agriculture industry. We continue to hear from stakeholders that it has really created a divisive wedge between some of the farm groups that have been working very well together, especially coming, you think back to some of the pandemic response during that time in 2020, 2021, there was a lot of farm groups that really found some common ground and it fostered some stronger relationships. Industry attempting at times to really speak with a voice and, be a little bit collaborative on common ground. There is not common ground on this one. This is basically pitted, unfortunately, supply managed groups against all the exportable commodities. And here's what I'm sensing. And I'm looking at my inbox, okay? And what I'm seeing in my email inbox, and people that have texted me as well or DM me on social media, what I'm seeing is even farmers in supply management would just like to see this go away. Is this really serving the purpose that some have professed? Was this something that the supply management industry was actually asking for? Although they're asking for support and they're asking for, don't give up any more market access because the pillars of supply, don't want to see supply management go away from their perspective. But I'm not sure there's the commitment to 282 being the vehicle, the solution to that fundamental belief. It's going to be interesting to see how what happens with 282. But I think the best thing for the cohesiveness of the industry is that it just goes off into the sunset, fades away, and never to be talked about again. Send me your thoughts. shaney@realagriculture.com. When we come back here on Real Ag on the Weekend, we're going to dive into some what Canadian farmers and ranchers said about the outcome of the U.S. election what's going to happen on Tuesday. We'll find out what they said right after this. RealAg Radio is Canada's only daily radio show focused on agriculture. Get expert advice on Agronomic Monday. Tuesdays and Wednesdays will cover a broad range of issues. Thursday we'll hear from farmers across the country on the Farmer Rapid Fire. And we'll wrap things up Fridays with the RealAg Issues panel with Kelvin Hepner and Lindsay Smith. Join us Monday through Friday at 4:30 Eastern. And don't forget about the replay at 7 in the morning on Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM. Get all the information you need to keep your pulse crop healthy and profitable with the Pulse School on RealAgriculture.com. The Pulse School is a free YouTube video series covering agronomy, research, and more across a host of different pulse crops. It's also available as an audio podcast wherever you download or stream your favorite podcast. Check us out on YouTube or visit RealAgriculture.com. The Pulse School, brought to you by BSF Canada.
The Canola School on RealAgriculture.com is your one-stop shop for everything a canola grower needs. Check out our free video series on YouTube for all the latest in canola agronomy, research, marketing, and more. Don't have time to watch? Download the podcast version of the Canola School on RealAgriculture.com or anywhere you download your podcasts. Stay on top of all things canola with the Canola School on RealAgriculture.com, brought to you by BASF and Invigor Hybrid Canola.
Your co-op grow team stays up to date with the latest research and technology to help support your entire operation. Talk to our team for advice tailored to your farm's needs. Co-op, here for your farm, here for your family. Learn more at coop.crs/farm.
Welcome back here to RealAg on the Weekend on 980 CGME and 650 CKOM. Shaun Haney, your host of RealAgriculture.com. I want to encourage you to go to RealAgriculture.com/subscribe. And you can basically sign up for our free e-newsletters. Come out every single morning, 6 days a week. You can choose different options. Western Canada, probably applicable to, that's the one you're going to want to sign up for. If you're interested in what's going on in Eastern Canada, we have a newsletter for that. Machinery, cattle, dairy, just mind your farm business. There's just a whole lot of options for you there. And the best part, like I mentioned, is free. Well, we're going to dive into some data right now. And of course, unless you've been living under a massive rock for the past, it feels like forever months, a U.S. election is going to happen on Tuesday. It's highly contested. It is very close, depending on the polls that you read. It can go either way at this point. And who knows, we'll even know the results on Tuesday night. It may take to Wednesday, Thursday, who knows. But it's a big day for the U.S., and it's a big day for Canada, too, because obviously U.S. policy has a major impact on the Canadian economy, our social behaviors. Just, we're adjacent to the largest economy in the world. And so what happens there really drives a lot of things here that can be fortunate or unfortunate, depending on the topic that you're thinking about discussing and debating with any of your neighbors. So what we did at RealAgriculture.com was we had RealAgristudies, the market research arm for a company, ask Canadian farmers and ranchers. We wanted to dive in. Who do you think would be better for Canadian agriculture? Okay, in thinking about the next U.S. election, which candidate do you believe will be best for Canadian ag? The results were fascinating. 18% chose Donald Trump, 37% chose Kamala Harris, so double the amount of people chose Harris, Vice President Harris. Now, equally, 23% said some impact for either, or same impact for either candidate, and the same 23% also said not sure. So 46% either saying same or not sure. 18% for Trump, 37% for Harris. Now, what we dove into, for the people that chose either Harris or Trump, we listed a number of factors that would lead you to that decision. And you had to choose your top three. So there's quite a list there. And I don't think there's any surprises in this regard. What we found was, if we look at the people that chose Donald Trump as being better for Canadian ag. Now, remember here, we didn't ask, how would you vote? What we asked farmers and ranchers was, which of these do you think would be better for Canadian agriculture? For those that chose Trump, they saw his general economic policies, his stance on energy policies that impact farming, like fuel and fertilizer, and as well his approach to environmental and climate policies, and also his leadership style. For those that chose Harris, also her leadership style was very important. Her support for U.S.-Canada relations, her stance on value of trade agreements, and her position on agricultural tariffs and market access. So I think there's an assumption, and I think this is a very common Canadian assumption, that the Democrats, the Biden administration, or under a potential Harris administration, would be softer on Canada than Trump 2.0. That seems to be. But at the same time, if you remove trade out of it, people feeling better about Trump's economic policies than Harris, as it reflects or impacts Canadian agriculture. I've always said that I think we sometimes don't look at some of the Democrat trade policies with close enough inspection. We're just going by the personality of the leader. There really has not been a lot of difference between the U.S. Trade Representative being led by Robert Lighthizer under the Trump administration or Catherine Tai under the Biden administration. Also, who will be the Ag Secretary, I think, also plays a role here. You look at the potential for like an RFK Jr. as the Secretary of Agriculture under a Trump administration. Maybe a Cory Booker, Senator out of New Jersey, who is very much against animal agriculture on the Democrat side. Those are just names that are thrown around. There's a lot of potential candidates, and people will be vying for that secretary position. So there's a lot in the running there, and time will tell. We got to get through Tuesday first. So that's how Canadian farmers and ranchers see the two candidates as it reflects on Canadian ag. It's interesting is that in the case of both candidates, a low value was put on their stance on agricultural subsidies. So environmental, economic, in general policies, and their position on relations with Canada relative to trade deemed much more important than how much they will be supporting the U.S. farmer through things like subsidies. Now, the U.S. farmer is definitely receiving subsidies, and they're still trying to figure out what a farm bill looks like in the United States, and there's a potential for that to happen during the lame duck session, but more likely to be done post-inauguration. It could be easy or very difficult depending on who wins those who wins the Senate and those House races, not only the White House, but there's a lot of uncertainty out there what this looks like for Canadian agriculture. And we haven't dived into the individual data yet, but there's going to be a difference in how supply managed sector views each of these candidates versus how exportable commodities view East versus West and how they view these two candidates. But overall, this is how it shook out. 37% for Harris and 18% for Donald Trump. Send me your thoughts. I would love to hear from you. Haney at RealAgriculture.com. Okay, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to continue on the policy front. We're going to talk to two Farm Credit Canada economists about what they see as two of the top three ag policy issues in the United States and how that reflects on what happens to Canadian agriculture in 2025. You're listening to Real Ag on the Weekend here on 650 CQM and 980 CGME.
I'm Lindsay Smith from RealAgriculture.com. Join me Monday nights for The Agronomists, a 1-hour live and interactive show broadcast across YouTube, Facebook, and X. Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, I host expert agronomists from all over the country to give you answers to some of the toughest agronomic questions. Join us live or catch the replay Tuesday morning. That's The Agronomist with me, Lindsay Smith, Monday nights live at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Hi, I'm Bernard Tobin, host of the Soybean School on RealAgriculture.com. Throughout the year, on the Soybean School, we'll bring you timely agronomic video content from planting to harvest, from the latest agronomic research to the latest in production technology. Check out our massive video library on YouTube, RealAgriculture.com, or download the audio podcast versions wherever you get your podcasts. The Soybean School is brought to you by BASF and Syngenta Canada.
Invest in your farm's future by donating to the Acres for Education campaign. Your charitable donation will get students out of the classroom, giving them real-life experiences that will shape their views on agriculture. Learn more at aitc.sk.ca.
This week I had a chance to catch up with two Farm Credit Canada economists who wrote a post on the FCC economics blog looking at U.S. ag policy relative to how those three things will impact Canadian agriculture in 2025. So here's my conversation with Justin Shepard and Graeme Crosbie of Farm Credit Canada. Okay, Graeme, let's start with you. Let's talk about, listen, for any beef producer, they know about mandatory country of origin labeling. Right now in the U.S., there's a lot of talk about this product of USA label change. How much pressure is there mounting in the U.S., no matter who wins the U.S. election, for more sort of made-at-home kind of products?
Yeah, I would say that, certainly over the last decade, at least, I'd say on both sides of the aisle in Congress, there's been a slow move towards increased protectionism. Certainly this, and I would also add to, yeah, you're right. There seems to be more of a focus on made in the USA products, not just ag products, but all types of products in general. And so, that's to some degree what we're dealing with here when it comes to beef and pork products as well, and the changes to the product of USA labeling, which was the focus of the blog, which is where, effective January 1st, 2026, if you want to put that label on your pork or your beef in the States, those animals have to be born, raised and slaughtered stateside, whereas previously, you could import an animal and feed and raise it and still use that label, but that's all going to change effective next year or 2026.
Yeah, and so not only impacting Canadian beef and pork producers, but also processors as well, right?
Yeah, big time. I mean, we're still trying to wrap our heads around what the potential fallout is from this, and in large part because we don't know how, what the appetite of the American consumer is to have that label on their plate. As we wrote in the blog, the ultimate determinant of how far this, the labeling goes and how much uptake there is really depends on the American consumer and their willingness to pay for those products. Because one thing we're pretty sure of is that, if you are truly going to only use animals that have been born and raised in the U.S., it's going to add costs. It's going to, disrupt supply chains between Canada and the U.S. So there will be added costs. And the question really is, at a time of already elevated food prices, but in particular protein prices, how much is the American consumer really going to want to pay for that product of made in the USA?
Is there any experience here that we can lean on to give us an indication of what that could look like?
Like in terms of the consumer's willingness?
The consumer behavior on this, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like within the profession, there's no shortage, honestly, of willingness to pay. Surveys and studies, in various countries with various different products. One thing that I personally struggled with, in not to question the quality of that work, is just really like those are survey based types of quantitative assessments. And so, when the rubber really hits the road, though, at a time when the consumer actually gets into the grocery store, it's a little less clear to me if their true willingness to pay is what they said it might have been in a survey. So specific to this particular issue, though, I'm not aware of any types of those reports.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to follow that one. I know that the Canadian Cattle Association, Canadian Pork Council have been working a lot on this issue. The Product of USA label, referred to as one of the most restrictive labels that they will have to deal with around the world. Now, Graeme, I know you got to take off, so we'll let you go. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, Shaun.
Okay, as I mentioned, also joining us is Justin Shepard, also an economist with Farm Credit Canada. Justin, so we've covered the labeling. Now, there's another issue that we've been chatting about a lot on RealAgriculture.com and RealAg Radio, and that's some of the fallout from biofuel tax credit changes. Talk about what is happening and why you're concerned.
Yeah, so this one is happening even sooner than the VCOOL rules. So January 1st, 2025, we're switching from a blender tax credit in the United States to a producer tax credit. This tax credit's important for ensuring profitability for biofuel producers and specifically biodiesel and renewable diesel producers. So it means that we're going to see some reduced competition or the ability to compete from Canadian biofuel producers. However, it doesn't mean that our canola oil, soybean oil can't still flow to the United States and actually go into those plants that are now going to be capturing that credit. So we have kind of good and bad when we look at what's happening to the Canadian economic system.
Now, when you say producer credit, that credit's going to the plant, the producer of the fuel, correct?
Yes. So the plant itself will gain that tax credit. What they've done to this point is they do a lot of tax splitting, or they share the credit. So right now, maybe the blender is getting that tax credit, but they're actually sharing it back with the producer. And I think that's going to continue forward, even though it's going to switch to the true producer of that biofuel gaining that tax credit. They may have to share it with downstream partners as well.
There is some talk about foreign feedstocks not being included, participating in something like 45Z. How big of a threat is this? You said product can still flow south, into the U.S., but will Canadian canola growers or soybean growers and the crushers be able to be competitive without those tax credits?
Yeah, right now it looks like we're still able to ship oil. There's no legislation in place that's going to limit the flows of inputs into the United States. So overall, the crusher is in a good position right now, but future outcomes are unknown as far as maybe changing some of those rules. But for right now, the Canadian oilseed producer and as well as the crusher are in a good position to have the U.S. as a strong market.
Even with not being able to access a $1 a gallon tax credit?
Well, it just means that our oil is going to flow south instead of actually be produced and consumed consumed in Canada.
Okay. The third issue is the U.S. Farm Bill. This is something that has been a long time coming. There hasn't been a lot of political will or political urgency. There was some thought about maybe happening during the lame duck. We'll have to see if that does transpire. What's your thoughts on the U.S. Farm Bill as it's being crafted relative to the impact on Canadian ag?
Yeah, the U.S. Farm Bill has such a big impact on Canadian agriculture because it can impact insurance prices. It can change how conservation programs are run in the United States. And ultimately, any change in U.S. acreage decisions works its way back to us in pricing. So it's really unknown at this point. A lot depends on the election, not only the presidency, but also who takes power in the House and in Congress. So there's a lot of unknowns about the Farm Bill. We know it will have an impact on us, but we really don't know how yet.
Yeah, obviously, Canadian farmers and U.S. farmers compete around the world in the export market. I know there's always a lot of interest in terms of some of the subsidy levels and the assistance levels, and obviously they have crop insurance, we have crop insurance, and trying to compare, and sometimes that's apples to apples, and sometimes it's apples to oranges. How much more is the U.S. farmer supported in that nature than, say, what happens here in Canada? Do you have a readout on that?
That's a good question. I don't know the exact the statistic on which one gets more support. It just looks a little bit different as far as some of the supports on specific commodities, especially in the United States, where Canada is more broadly adjudicated.
That was Justin Shepard and Graeme Crosbie, economists, both with Farm Credit Canada. If you have any feedback on today's program, we'd love to hear from you. You can send me an email to shaney@realagriculture.com, or you can call the RealAg feedback line, 855-776-6147. Thanks, everybody, for checking out RealAg on the weekend. Make sure you go to realagriculture.com to catch up on all things that are happening in agriculture, and we'll chat with you again next week. Cheers, everybody.